Hey, good evening, everybody. It is the Ben Herrera Show. It is Wednesday night. Thanks for joining tonight. We have a great guest tonight. Everybody knows who she is. But let's get with the sponsors first before we get to who she is. We got Pure West Compassion Club. Get a hold of them, 616-772-9420 for all your needs. And then we also got Zamudio Ramos Cleaning Service. You can get a hold of her for all your services, factory, restaurant, whatever it is. Apartments. 616-321-0309. And tonight we got Tracy and Marcos in tonight. What's up, guys? Thanks for joining. Thanks for being in the studio. And we got Lupita Reyes in the show tonight.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you for being here. We appreciate you.
La reina de la radio.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you just give us a brief description of who you are, a little bit of a history, so people that don't know who you are, even though there's a lot of people that do.
I always tell people that if you want to find me, just Google me and you'll see the whole story on Google.
Okay. Well, there you go.
I mean, I can't get away.
She sent me a paper. It's actually really interesting.
It's kind of embarrassing sometimes because people will say, I read about you on Google, and I go, who gave Google permission to put me on?
Right.
But oh well.
I mean, you're famous. I mean, you just don't have much of a.
I grew up in Holland, Michigan, originally from the Valley, Rio Grande Valley in Texas.
Okay.
I came here when I was about 6 years old and grew up here. I learned a lot about Holland, Michigan. The first thing I learned about Holland was that Holland was not inclusive at all when I arrived here.
Mm-hmm.
A few families Hispanic families were here. My stepfather's uncle and his wife and her family were here. And that was my first encounter with Latinos who thought they were something else. They used to bully me because I couldn't speak English. And they weren't real cousins. They were actually stepchildren of my stepfather. So I didn't consider them cousins, and especially when they began to bully me and make fun of me because I couldn't speak English. And so it took me a while. Then I was enrolled in Lincoln School. Right now we're Hope College, Martha Miller.
Martha Miller. So
Yes.
I went to school there.
So there I started school. I was bullied in school, and I spent a lot of time in the corner of the outside of the school crying because kids would make fun of me, calling me beaner, calling me whatever name, spick, and all those things.
That was a famous one.
That was kind of a
That was
nice
popular.
greeting to coming to
It's
Holland.
because we're spectacular.
That's a good one.
And then I met a young girl, actually, when I got off the truck in which we came from Texas to Michigan.
Okay.
It was a canvas covered, and there were about maybe 25 people in there. 25 crowded in there.
What up, Matt?
And my dog that I brought from Texas.
Did I read right? Woosie?
Woosie.
Woosie was your dog.
Yeah. Woosie was my dog. She actually met my husband, and she died on the 22nd of February, way back.
Oh.
But the first girl that I met that was kind to me, her name was Barbara Hardy.
Okay, yes.
And she had a disability, and I guess I had a disability because I couldn't speak English. So the two of us became good friends, and she would talk to me in English, and I would just sit there and wonder, what are you saying? And she asked, she says, my name is Barbara. And my mother said, tell her your name. That's what she wants. And so I told her, well, I'm Lupita. And she, oh, okay. You want to play with me? And that became a friendship. And I really liked her a lot because she accepted me for who I was.
Right.
And then she went to Washington School because of her disability, and that's where kids at that time would go to that. And I went to Lincoln.
Okay.
In the second grade, the teacher felt that I had a learning disability and that I should go to the school where Barbara was going because that's where they sent the kids that had a learning disability. One teacher who was the principal of the school said to the second grade teacher, "This girl doesn't have a learning disability, she has a language disability."
Yes.
And so that teacher took me under her wing. She lived in Zealand. Her name was Miss Buter. And then she started stopping and picking me up because I lived on Chicago Drive in the swamp area, in a little house in the swamp, way back before you were born.
I know. I'm like, hey, I don't remember any swamp areas, but okay, yeah.
She would pick me up and take me to school early in the morning and make sure that I had a milk and something to eat. And then she would bring me home after school unless she had a meeting. Then I'd have to walk home, which was about a couple miles from Lincoln School. So those were the days. And then my mother decided to put me in Catholic school because I had to make my first Holy Communion.
Yes.
And I didn't want to go because I was doing very well in Lincoln School. I had begun to understand and speak Spanish well. And so going to another school was not my idea of happiness, but I had to go. So I was enrolled in Catholic school, and the first thing I noticed was I had never seen a nun dressed the way they were, as I was in public school. And so anyway, I saw them walking, and the first thing I thought about is, these ladies look like penguins. And so I was telling one of my friends in the playground one day, "Here comes the penguins, look out." And then one of those nuns heard me, and she came up to me and said, "What did you say?" I said, "Nothing." She says, "You said something about us." And I said, "Well, I called you a penguin." And then she says, "Why did you call me a penguin?"
Oh, man.
And I said, "Well, sister, you dress like a penguin and you walk like one." She sent me back into the school, and I had to go to the cloakroom. I was in that cloakroom so much I counted the slats in the cloakroom because I was there all the time for whatever reason.
Where's the cloakroom?
Cloakroom,
What is that?
like hanging up your coats in the room.
Oh,
See,
okay.
it's before your time.
Oh, yeah, no,
Yes.
I don't remember doing
And
that. I've been to Sunday school, but not actually going to school there.
You've never been whooped by a ruler, have you?
It was
I did get hit by one time.
at that time the nuns could hit you, and I got hit quite a bit. And I used to have long curly hair, and she would pull my hair so much that I got so sick of it. But after the encounter with the nuns, I started skipping school. And one night the phone rang and somebody asked to speak to Stevie, and I thought it was my mother's friend. And when I saw the look on my mother's face, I figured it's not a friend. It was a nun who was calling to advise my mother
That's weird.
that I was skipping school.
Wow.
And I told my mother, I get a stomach ache. And I used to walk from Lakewood, where we lived, all the way onto 13th Street, where the school
Wow,
was.
that's quite a distance.
We would walk. And it was difficult for me. I would get anxiety. I would get depressed. I didn't know what it was. All I know is I didn't want to go face that nun, and I didn't want to get hit anymore.
Yeah.
And so that's why I was skipping school. So then my mother was summoned to meet with the Monsignor, and I had to come along and sit beside my mother. And then the Monsignor told my mother that they did not want me back at the Catholic school anymore because I was a bad influence on the kids. And they said, the Monsignor said that I was going to grow up to be a delinquent. And so I believed that. And I thought I was very bad for what I did. And then when I got home, I got the whipping of my life because my mother was very stern with me. And there were issues my mother had that a lot of times she took out her anger on me for no reason. And so I did suffer a lot of physical abuse, emotional abuse, and verbal abuse. I didn't know what it was. All I know is that I didn't like what I was in. And it was a lonely time for me. And my stepfather used to step in, and my mother would say, stay out of it. She's not your daughter. And so that's the way it went. I grew up that way, and sometimes I would take my dog, after a beating, I'd take my dog outside on the steps and sit there and look at the skies, and then I'd say, God, someday bring me somebody who's going to love me, who's not going to hurt me like my mother, and who's going to be my hero.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, years later, as a teenager, I think I was about 13,
Oh,
he came to, we used to have gatherings at my house because there might have been maybe 10 Hispanic families living in Holland.
Did you want to be on the show? Because I have a camera facing upwards.
You want to be on? You want to talk?
Do you want to be on?
He's listening. He knows the story very well. So he came with his brother, and I had been in another room, and I walked into the room. I saw him. He had his face in a book, and I said to my friend, I'm going to marry him. And she looks at me. She says, you're crazy. You don't even know him. I said, no, I'm going to marry him. And she says, stop. Look, all he has is his face in a book.
Yeah.
You could go out with anybody. And I said, no, I'm going to marry him. So then I talked to my friend at another gathering we had, and I asked him, let's go get some potato chips and pop and ask Tino to come along, and then I'm going to describe this guy I want to go out with, and it's going to be him, and he'll know it's him. And
wait a minute. I'm getting the hint that you didn't.
That was a good idea. That's smart.
yeah, and so we went, and he came along, and I was in the middle. In those days, you could sit 3 people in the front.
Oh, yeah.
And he was sitting there like this, and I said, hey, Valdi, the Beltran family.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I says, there's this one guy I'd like to go out with. And he says, well, who is it? I says, oh, I'm not going to tell you his name. I'm just going to call him Mr. X. But he has a tattoo on his right arm. I described
Mr.
him
Rebel.
to a T. And he just sat there looking up like nothing.
Nonchalant.
No. And then we get
Minding his
back.
business.
We get back. And my Baldi says to me, I told you, he doesn't like you. And then I said, well, why doesn't he like me? He doesn't even know me.
Right.
And he says, do you really want to know? I says, yes. He says, he thinks you're too agringada. And I go,
Oh.
what does that mean? And he says, okay, you act like a gringa,
Yo.
you walk like a gringa, and you even eat like one.
What is
And
a
I
gringa?
thought, oh
A
my.
white person.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I was thinking you said something else.
And I said, he doesn't know me. And he says, you know, you do, you're like that. And I said, well, and then he goes, give it up. He cannot stand you, and it's not going to happen. And I have,
Off the bat.
oh no, that was my first big battle to win him.
Yeah.
And so months passed, and he didn't call. And one day I get a phone call from him, and he says, hey, it's me. And he says, it's Tino. I want to ask you to go to the movies. Do you want to go to the movies? I said, yes. Quick. Didn't think.
Tino is
Just
busy
yes. And then he says, but can I ask you a favor? And I says, yes. And he says, could you ask your friend, Lupita Zamora, to come with you? He says, because her parents won't let her out unless you ask. And he says, because my brother wants to go out with her. So I figured that out. He's only asking me because he wants my friend for his brother.
Gotcha.
And so we did. We went to the drive-in, and my friends and his brother were making out passionately out in the back seat. Okay, he's sitting by the driver's side, and I'm sitting by the passenger side. And once in a while, he'd take his hanky out of his pocket and wipe the windshield off because it was steaming because of the two in the back.
Oh, Lord.
Wow.
And at the intermission, he and his brother went to go get something, and his brother must have said something. And so after the intermission, he moved a little bit to the middle of the seat. And I'm still over here rubbing the passenger side.
Oh.
And he puts his hand up there like that, lets it drop. That was it.
Oh, nonchalant.
That was it. That was it.
That was
And
cool.
it went on for,
Smooth.
I
Mr.
finally almost
Smooth.
gave up on him because, like my friend said, you're just wasting your time. There's other guys that want to go with you. Why waste your time on someone who doesn't like you? I says, yeah, you're right. And then he asked to come over to the house. He called and came over. And there was a big willow tree by the side of our house. And we went under there. And so my mother couldn't see me. And then he said, will you be my girlfriend? I said, what? Yeah. And so then I said, I thought you didn't like me. And he says, no, I think I know you now better. And that's when I got my first kiss from this man.
All right.
Yes.
You're giving me hope, buddy. You're giving me hope. I like that.
And
You're giving me hope.
from there on, our story goes on. It's like a love story without an end. It is, he's been my best friend. He's
All right,
the
then.
father of my kids. He's my husband, but most of all, he is my best friend. He's
Amen.
the one that
That's great.
I can
That's
turn
great.
to when I'm afraid. He's the one that I will tell everything to. Yeah, we've had our ups and downs, but we've been married now, it'll be 66 years.
Ah,
Yes.
nice.
And so we've been through a lot, and we've worked together on turning Holland around.
Yeah.
Basically, because this is the amazing thing that I always say to him, God did bring us together.
Amen.
Because everything that we have done, we both agree on. When it came to fighting for rights of people, we're there together. When it came to starting the organization, it was us together. It was our idea, and we brought these other men in, and they agreed with us. We need to have an organization where we can have a voice, where we can say who we are
Yes.
and what our needs are. And so on with the story, we stayed with the organization. We've seen some ups and we see some downs. And now lately with the new leadership, we're seeing love just soar. And that's what we want. We don't want a name for ourselves. What we want is to see an organization that does what the mission of the organization was originally, is to open doors, to help our people, and to help them advance, and to get a good education for their kids. There's no reason why kids can't go to college.
Right.
There's ways to find
Exactly.
entry into college.
Of course. Yes.
And so we're still working at it. We're not as involved in LAUP now as we were, but we support LAUP financially and physically and any way we can. We do work with LAUP that way. And he's the one that has Johnny. He calls Johnny and tells Johnny, here's some ideas. And Johnny appreciates that because he learns from people who have the experience. Plus, he's got some good experience himself. And so Johnny and his board of directors have really brought LAUP to the front of the line instead of the back where they were.
Yes.
Right.
And now we're on a campaign to raise enough money to get our own building because LAUP deserves that.
Good.
I mean,
Yeah,
60 years in the making, we should have had our own building by now. But we had about 35,000 saved for the building fund. And that money was used for something else. And so we're starting again. And now we're going to go on a big major campaign to raise that money to have our own building, our own home, because we deserve that, and our people deserve that.
Yes, they
We
do.
should have a place where we can have an event
Yep.
big enough,
They,
big enough.
they're closing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that doesn't cost like $1.5 million. It's going to be a challenge, but I think together we can do that. And we need to work together if we want our people to benefit from all that has been done, we need to work together. It is not one person, not the Reyeses, not the Gonzalezes or whoever. It is the community, the Latino community working together to better Holland and to better Holland for our people too. Because we pay taxes, we vote, and we're involved. We're involved. And by the way, years ago, there was a commissioner on the Ottawa County Board of Commissioners. And that commissioner made a statement saying, these people are only here with their hands stretched out to get money.
Wow.
And we got a group of people, we filled the commissioner room. And I was one asked to address this man. I was as nervous as could be.
Right.
But I said, you are a public servant. You're elected. What you said about the Hispanic population is uncalled for. And it is discriminatory. And we will not allow you to talk about our people that way.
Right.
That's right.
You need to get off. He got off. He left. He didn't run again.
Okay.
But we need to do more. I want to see more Hispanics on the Board of Commissioners, on the mayor's office.
City Council.
We need to do it. And nobody's going to come out and say, here, you have a seat on the Board of Commissioners, or here you have this.
Right.
We need to stand up and work together and elect people that are competent, that can stand out and speak out
That's right.
for what our needs are too.
Right.
If we pay taxes, we
have the
deserve
right.
to
Exactly.
benefit from what is being done in this community.
That's right.
Exactly.
And sometimes it doesn't happen.
Right.
Yeah, that's kind of what we do here. What we try to do is build the community, have everybody love each other as one, and then try to give them a chance of exposing them to other areas, and, to grow, to expand their horizons. And it's very hard because even like myself, trying to get into the city mission and trying to get my permits and everything else, it's red tape after red tape after red tape after red tape. And then you get through all the red tape, then they come up with another excuse to put another red tape.
Of course.
And it's like, what do I have to do in order to get inside? What do I have to do? How many people do I need to open a door for
You
the
have to
Latino
challenge.
community?
You have to challenge. You don't stop because they give you a red tape. You cross that red tape and then confront them. And my husband will tell you that we used to use, if you aren't going to pay these people the right wages, there's always the Civil Rights Commission, and they don't like to hear that. Okay, and we've done that. He has done that before. And, there was a company that wasn't paying the workers what they should be paid. They were treated badly. He went and had a conference with that company and pointed out the problems. And through that conversation, that company changed the way they treated people. That is what we have to do. We have to advocate for our people and advocate for everybody, really, because discrimination comes in many different ways.
Different forms.
That's it. And right now, I can say that we have institutional discrimination.
Yes.
That is discrimination within a company.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the
Exactly.
doors get closed for some particular people and open up magically for others.
Yes.
And so
Exactly.
we may have the education, we may have the experience, but we don't get the promotions. And when we get a job as a director of something, we have to work our butts off to prove we're worthy of that job, even though we have the education.
That's funny
Exactly.
because there was a, trying to be politically correct here. There is a certain person that didn't have the education, but somehow ended up on the board. And didn't have the education, didn't know the left pen to the right pen, and still made it to the board. But yet you have a Hispanic person that was going for the office, and they denied him because he wasn't educated enough.
That's an example. That's an example. To run for office, yes, you do have to know the needs and the rules that apply to a board of commissioners. But what I've seen lately, they put all the rules aside and made so many changes. But that is what we need to look at. If we are dissatisfied with how things are going, the only way you're going to make changes is by getting involved in saying, okay, I'm going to run for office. Okay.
Yeah, that's
I've been asked that time, and so has he, time and time again, why don't you guys run for office? And the answer is, I don't want to be tied up with a lot of
Litigations.
rules.
Yep.
That because employees, what do they say to you? When you leave this job, and now that's going to change, you cannot work 25 miles from here. You have to go out before you can apply for a job. But that's changing, and that's good. Because why should we have to go away for 25 miles? They call it, you're competing against us. No, if I take a job working as a social worker at an agency, it's not competing with what you do. It's different.
Yes.
And I have a right to apply to a job wherever I want.
Right.
Why should you keep me from doing that?
Correct.
So, yes, those are things we have to focus on. And we need to work with LAUP to make it happen, because that's the vehicle. LAUP is the vehicle to move things about. Now that LAUP has its standing in the community as it had before, this is the time to get on board and work with LAUP to make the changes we want in this community.
That's not a bad idea to get on the board.
Yep.
That's right.
So let's get them on board. Let's get everybody on board, seriously. I mean, I grew up here. I mean,
I definitely grew up here. I mean, me and Lupita don't
Tracy
have.
didn't.
We actually almost have almost the same story. I mean, I don't have the same love life, but I mean, I wish I could. That'd be great.
You know,
But
I think that a lot of people that grew up here, like yourself, I've been discriminated against. Marcos, you said you have to.
I grew up fighting every day.
I've been called beer before too.
I'll just,
People would tease me too.
Well, explain that real quick, babe. What's wrong, Cameron? Hey, where are you? Oh, there you go. Like how?
No, but growing up, I was so pale and blonde hair. People thought I was albino. And they would always tease me, call me albino.
Albino.
Sure.
Yeah.
there's a lot of discriminations. We just focus sometimes on race.
Right.
But there's
Yeah.
age discrimination,
Yeah.
physically handicapped discrimination,
That's true.
you
And
name it.
mental.
Yes, mental, that's a big one.
Yeah, that is-
Speaking of mental, that's one thing we need to work on, because the opportunities to get treatment as a Hispanic who doesn't speak English
Yeah.
Right.
are very, very thin in this county.
Yeah.
It is, I can tell you that there may be by now about 10 of us who
Yeah.
are social workers who can give treatment to the Hispanics. I started my own agency for that purpose, because I wanted to be able to provide mental health services to the Hispanic community, because
It's great.
it wasn't present.
available.
And I hated to see Hispanics being labeled as being paranoid schizophrenic or delusional or whatever.
bipolar.
And then here's a pill, take this. And then the person then becomes worse, because that's not the problem.
Exactly.
When a Hispanic person from Mexico, Central America, even South America, speaks about brujeria, which is witchcraft,
Yeah.
curanderismo, which is the
The healer.
healer. When they speak about those things, immediately the person who is providing the treatment in English thinks, that person is delusional. They're thinking they're being bewitched by somebody. And so then they recommend to the psychiatrist, this person needs some kind of medication to control those thoughts.
Yeah.
And that isn't it at all. The person, that's a cultural thing.
It's cultural thing.
And so,
Yeah.
and how many therapists really understand the culture from where people come from?
They don't.
Not
They're
many of
all
us.
fed.
Right.
Okay? And so when we talk about the man is the head of the household, okay? They don't understand that. Because, well, why is he the head of the household? He is. In our culture, that's the way it goes. And then we talk about machismo. Oh, sure, machismo. Yeah, yeah. There's bad machismo, but there's good machismo too. And here's an example. Okay?
Wait,
That's-
the better the
What
good.
is
No, he's a good.
He's good.
He's a good.
We had to clarify that one.
He's a
What does chamismo mean?
Macho.
machismo.
Macho.
Yeah, the macho man.
Macho.
Okay.
And so women who are being abused by their husbands sometimes keep quiet because they don't have anyone to understand them.
Right.
And then they remain in that same traumatic environment because they have no way out.
Yeah.
And so we need to understand that. We need to understand that if this woman comes from a rural area in Mexico, way up in the mountains, she's going to be one of those women who is not going to go out and report to the police.
Right.
She's going to keep quiet because she's been threatened. If you report me, immigration's going to come and get you and take you, and you'll never see your kids again. Okay? Or if you leave me, I'll kill you.
Right.
That's a popular one. In
Oh, that's a
Mexican
very
culture.
one. Or I'll take the
In
kids
the
away
Mexican
from you.
culture.
So these women are trapped
Yeah.
and they're not being helped. And this is one thing we need to do. And I wish my dream was to start a center of mental health professionals and call it the Multicultural Mental Health Center. I got a name for it. I don't have the money for it, but and that would be bring in mental health professionals from different cultures,
Yeah.
the Vietnamese, the Cambodian, whatever. The Native Americans are people too, and they are often just neglected.
Yes.
We still have some on reservations.
Yes.
And so we have a lot of work to do. And unless we work together, we'll stay in that rut right there.
Right.
And we'll
Right.
never get out of it.
Yep.
So, questions?
Well, I know. I mean, you have a beautiful, beautiful, wonderful story. Okay, and I know you said you only wanted to do a half hour, but we're a little beyond that.
We're already past.
We're already past. That's okay.
So, I mean, let's jump forward to why did you start a radio station?
Because I wanted people to have the music that they're used to hearing, that they didn't have, that they didn't understand. Okay? And to be honest with you, I got tired of listening to the same old same. I was used to listening to Down in the Valley, Conjunto.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. And it wasn't there. And thank God that I had the support that allowed me to do that. But I'm a fighter. I am not going to sit back and let somebody tell me you can't do that. I did that when I was in high school, and I missed so much because of that. You can't do that. You don't have the grades. You don't have the experience. You don't have this. Okay, let me prove it to you that I can. Sí, yo puedo.
Your new book. Got it.
Wait,
Yeah.
is that the title of the book?
That's the title of the book.
Oh, okay.
That's the title of my book.
Nice.
So, you know, in all of that, you know, as my grandfather grew up, he was a musician, Juan J. Sosa.
Yes, I know. We knew him well.
So, you know, being in a musical family, even with my dad that, you know, grew up in Texas, came here, he was also a musician. And music's just in my blood. And it was just hearing you every time. Like I told you, we would get the grill ready every Sunday. Get the grill ready, get the fajitas, everything. Or Lupita will be on at 7 o'clock.
Here we go.
Or 6 o'clock. And it was just like, it was
Six?
that was our to go to.
Yeah.
Because that was the only time we could actually turn the radio on and
to
listen.
music.
Unless we would get the station like 560 from Chicago.
Yeah.
Or you go to
Pay away.
AM, and you go to Lansing, we get the one from Lansing, but you had to have a big old antenna. You know, and it's just, you were the closest thing we all had. And that would actually bring us all together because, hey, compa, we're going to go over here, we're going to have a cook-up.
Yeah, I mean,
Vámonos, let's
Yeah.
go.
I used to have guys who were way out in the woods someplace drinking a chela,
Yeah.
And they
I
would,
haven't heard that in years.
they would call and say, "Hey, can you play this song?" And I go, "Yeah, sure," and dedicate it to so and so. Or there were guys who were working and would call in.
Oh, yeah.
And now we have people that call us from all over the United States and even Mexico.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
That's
That's
cool.
awesome.
So the show has grown, and again, I didn't do that alone. I had a lot of good people that helped me get there, and sometimes I am the one that receives the awards when these other people should receive awards too, because it takes more than one person,
Yes, it does.
and
Yep.
they were the catalyst for me to move forward.
Yes.
But they're the ones that have kept the show going. And so I can't thank them enough. That's a commitment that you make. And, I always tell people who come to the show and want to join us, and I say, this is a commitment. You're married to this. Because you can't call at the last minute and say, I'm not coming in. Then what? No show?
Sounds
Right.
It
familiar.
doesn't work that way.
Yeah, it
It's
does
like
sound
this.
familiar.
Very familiar.
It's
You know
like
what? Who just
this.
did that?
Veronica Ramos says, "Hello, Lou. Love from the Ramos."
Oh, hey, tell her I said hi.
She hears you. She's watching right now.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
You look
Hi.
at the camera and just say hi.
Hi. Thank you for calling, or thank you for writing.
Yeah.
But yes,
You're
I
used to
mean,
saying that, though. Thank you for calling.
but yes, that's, I caught that. But yes, it's weird how much music can unite people. I mean, you even have the excuse my language, but the chinos and the negritos, they're getting into the music as well.
Yes, sir.
And it's just like, well, even the Caucasians, even with Mark Buck.
Oh, yeah.
Mark Buck, I mean, he gets down on Tejano music,
Oh, yeah, I mean,
and he does
we've
great
opened
mixes.
the gate to another genre, another kind of music that you can listen to, you can dance to. And one thing about our music, when it's a romantic song,
Oh man, you better stop.
you feel it. You
Yes.
feel it. And then when there's a mariachi,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, you feel it and you're going to let out a big old yell.
Grito.
Yeah,
That's how I am, because I don't know Spanish at all.
none at all.
I tease him
Our
outside. He
parents-
doesn't know.
Our
Oh,
parents
you're like
didn't-
I was.
Well, yeah, I mean, our parents didn't speak Spanish to us when we were growing up, so we didn't ever catch on. I mean, they spoke Spanish, but didn't teach us. But my grandpa would always listen to Tejano music and Spanish music, and it was like, now that I hear it now, and sometimes because I used to work at the gas station up here, every Sunday night when I would leave, I would hear that. I would go put it to 92.7. I was like, oh, that's right, it's the Spanish. Oh, wait, this reminds me of my grandpa. So I would drive home listening to it, even though I don't know what they're singing about. I just like the
The
music
music.
style of it.
It moves you.
Yeah,
And that's what
exactly.
music should do. It should move you.
Yeah.
And our music does move people.
It moves a lot of people.
And it does. And whether it be Puerto Rican music, Cuban music, some from South America, Guatemala, all of that music has something in it that just makes you want to jump and dance and do all those things.
It's that rhythm.
It's the rhythm, yes.
Yep.
And I think the African American people kind of relate to it too, because their music is also very
Well,
rhythmic.
actually, Tejano music originated from Africa. All the Latino music originated from Africa.
The music, yes.
Yes.
So
The accordion was from Spain or Paris, and then people just migrated to Mexico and then came over here and kind of we made our own conjunto as where it first started.
oh yeah, conjunto is something that has been around for a long time,
Yes.
and all of these guys that were very famous, we're now losing a lot of them, and it's sad to see, but. There's more coming up. The young
Yes.
generation's coming up. Unfortunately, they're changing the style of music, and that
Yes.
I heard that.
nobody can play boleros like they used to.
No,
When your
see-
grandpa Juan
Yep.
Sosa would play boleros, you knew it was a bolero.
Yes.
Now they play a bolero, and you think, what is this?
Right.
So I hope that we continue to have the music that we had then. You can't always stay in the past, you're going to have to move forward. But let's keep some of the old stuff together. Because,
I mean, Sunny and the Sunliners were bad. I mean, they were good.
yeah,
reverse that. They were good, and then you had, what was it, Flaco Jimenez,
Blanco,
and then you had David Lee Garza.
Stephen Jordan.
Oh yes, Stephen Jordan, which is actually my ex-wife's cousin.
Oh my gosh.
So I got to go to the house.
knows everybody.
Yeah, and then Carlos Guzman
Yes,
and
Carlos
Buddy
Guzman actually played with my grandfather.
with your grandfather John.
Yeah,
Okay.
they I guess it was my grandfather's band, and then they opened up for Carlos Guzman.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Freddie Martinez.
Freddie Martinez, Agustin Ramirez, and all those
The
guys.
legends.
We have the legends, the legends. And so, it brings good memories. The music, when I hear the old school, I really get into it because I love the music. And that's what I started the program with. I mean, I'm thankful to all those Tejano artists who used to send me music after I contacted them all. And then we started
That was
doing.
going to be one of my questions.
So, but I want to thank you for having me and my husband here.
Oh yes, of course.
And-
You were the reina de radio. I mean, it's just la reina de Harlem. That this is where it's at.
Yeah, I
You
just,
being on our show is an honor.
well, it's an honor for me to be here.
Let me say
And I
something
mean,
real quick before you can say next. You'll be next. You're next, babe. Hearing your voice, and I like I closed my eyes for a second because I remember when I hear your voice on the radio, like I was joking when you first came in, said, "Oh, I remember your voice on the radio," and that's what now I hear you in person. It's like it puts everything together. I'm like, wow, that's crazy that I have you sitting. We have you sitting right here.
Oh.
And it's amazing. You're part of Holland history for sure.
Oh, for sure.
Big part of Holland history, and we thank you for that for sure. Because
Well,
Yes, you have blessed our place. Actually, we just moved in here, so you have blessed us very well.
well, I think through maybe this program, we can generate the energy to raise that money to have our own place, to have our
That would be
own
great.
civic
Whatever we
center.
can do, whatever Black River Studios can do for you, you let us know. And if
And
we have to, unite with whoever we need to unite with, we will.
There are no buildings big enough to hold a Latino Tejano dance. None.
oh yeah, that's true.
Not even the Civic Center, because the Civic Center now has a carpet on the floor. Who can dance on a carpet? You might
Right.
fall. I do know that for their fiesta this year, they've rented a floor so people can dance
Yeah.
because Los Palominos are coming in. That's a hot group.
Oh,
Yes.
That is a hot group. And so to celebrate the 60th anniversary, and that's quite an honor, to have them here.
Yes.
Um,
We are actually trying to get in a booth that's there, but trying to get a hold of La Hoop is kind of crazy.
no, talk to Johnny.
Johnny?
Johnny.
You hear that, Johnny? I don't know if you're watching, buddy.
Johnny, if you're hearing us, call immediately.
Yes.
Here's an
The number you see on
SOS.
the-
There's a number, Johnny. You call
the-
us.
on the
We
screen.
want
Call
to
it
talk
on
to
the-
you.
Get a hold of one of us.
This program could help get Lau on across many places and learn more about what LAUP is doing in Holland, Michigan, and across the state of
So
Michigan.
we should get Johnny on the show.
We should get Johnny on the show. Yes,
Yeah, definitely.
yes. He would be good. I think he would tell you a lot more of what is being planned for the future of LAUP, and that future has got to be maintained because once we stop, we go right back to the 50s.
That's right, because
that's true.
we didn't have much room. I mean, and I wasn't born then, but the stories I heard from like my mom and there wasn't much room to do anything.
No.
And everybody was scared. Everybody was scared to open their mouth to say something.
Yeah, and I think sometimes we're intimidated by that, but we've got to get people who are not intimidated.
I'm
Who
never
are saying,
intimidated.
yes, that's okay.
Yeah, see, that's the reason why we started this too, this show. Well, that was one of the reasons why I started it, was for people to have a voice.
That's right.
And to
That's
get
what
out
it
there.
is.
Yeah,
If
exactly.
you don't use your voice, they don't hear you.
Exactly.
And this is the way they're going to hear us, is if we stand up and say, we are going to work to get this done. And there are many, many non-Hispanic business people that are willing to support what we're doing.
Okay.
And Laup is, like I said, back on the road again, and they're starting to get funding and that. But when you're talking about a building that's probably going to cost $1.5 million, that's not easy to raise.
Right.
But I
It's not,
wonder,
but you know what? With God, all things are possible.
of course, it's with God, that's the only way.
Right.
That's right.
You know,
Exactly.
if God isn't in our plan,
Mm-hmm.
it is not going to go forward.
No.
I always tell couples that I counsel in marriage, I tell them, you know, marriage is like a building. When you build a building or a house, you have to have a good foundation.
That's right.
Because if you don't have that good foundation, that house is going to fall.
Right.
A marriage, like a house, has to have a good foundation, and that foundation is God.
Yes.
That's right.
If
You're
God
right.
isn't there, that marriage will fall.
That's very true.
Very true.
And that's what I tell my clients about marriage. And believe me, there isn't a marriage on this earth that hasn't had their ups and downs.
Yeah.
But
exactly.
if we build on that foundation, we'll get through it.
Yep.
And
true.
we are witnesses of that.
Amen.
Yep.
So I do, again, thank you. It's an honor to be with you guys, and anything I can do to help you, just let me know. You have my number.
Well, yep.
Yes.
We do have a couple people just want to say what they. Efren Reyes says hola Lou. John Ortiz says good evening. John Ortiz Jr.
Yes.
says good evening. Good evening, Miss Lupita. And Veronica Ramos comes back on and says Holland, proud of a living legend.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. It's nice to be behind a microphone again.
Anytime you want, you can come over here.
I
Well,
call you.
You're
and say, I
more
want to
than
be on the air.
welcome. You
Just
just,
like that new mat I just bought says welcome.
you let us know whenever you just come over, knock on the door, or just open it up.
Yep.
That microphone will be ready for you.
All right.
Yep.
All right.
You'll always have a microphone here.
You're welcome here whenever.
Thank you. Thank you. So I think we can do something.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, we will.
Oh,
We will.
definitely.
Okay.
We're definitely open for that.
That's what we're here for. So.
Okay.
Yep.
Thanks a lot.
So for one more time before we go, how about you give us a nice sign off for
Oh, yeah.
92.7
In Spanish?
in Spanish?
Yes.
Alegria Latino.
Oh, well. Bueno, amigos, nos despedimos de ustedes por esta noche. Gracias por estar con nosotros. Les recomendamos que todos los días pueden escuchar y ver este programa a través de Pure West.
Okay.
Oh, Pure West Compassion Club. Wow, compasión. Puro oeste. Compasión Puro Oeste. Este es el club, ¿eh?
Yeah.
Bueno, gracias, muchas gracias por las personas que llamaron para saludarme. Les agradezco bastante y espero verlos muy pronto. Hasta luego.
She knows Spanish
Okay.
more than I do. Say something in Spanish, babe.
Mucho gusto and bendiciones.
Gracias.
But you speak in like complete sentences.
Sí.
I don't. And then we got one more. We got Zamudio Ramos Cleaning Service 616-321-0309. Get a hold of her if you need any cleaning services done. Your apartment, your house, your factory, whatever it is. Give her a call. 616-321-0309. And a sign off from Marcos and Tracy.
God bless. Be safe out there, y'all.
Much love.
Again, we thank you for being on. We again, it is an honor because I've heard your voice so many times.
Gracias a ustedes.
It's a blessing the work that you're doing,
Gracias to
and
you
I
guys.
commend you.
Thank
I
you.
said it in Spanish,
Good job, babe.
so thank you again for being on. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And we will see everybody. We'll be on Friday night, and we'll see you then. All right, everybody have a good night, and we'll see you on Friday night. Peace.